Okay, so I'm Israa Mahmoud Ibrahim, a co-founder of Filmmaking Design. We are a Cairo-based design film festival. We curated a digital film program with Cinema Aqil, Makers in the Sun, an online series of 5 Egyptian design films and talks and Q&As, bringing the world of design and film together, shedding a spotlight on local design studios and artisans and craftsmen. So I would like to welcome Mai Elwakil, our guest speaker for today. And I'm gonna just talk about a little bit about your background, and then you can tell us more about your backstory, your background, the work you've done before. So you are a Cairo-based writer, editor, and multimedia content producer with special knowledge of contemporary Arab arts. So tell us more about your background, Mai.
Hi, Israa. Thanks for the introduction. As you said, I'm based in Cairo, and I do a number of things. I write about arts, I edit publications, but I also started working with video around 2012, maybe, where I was one of the co-founders of a video archive that focuses on contemporary Arab arts. It was a nonprofit initiative, Yani, and my relationship with Mada also goes way back, because the Mada, as you know, is a platform, is an online digital platform in Egypt that covers a range of things from politics to economics to environment to culture, and it also has a multimedia component. Mada started in 2013, but before that, I don't know if you know, that it was the same team who was in the English edition of the Masr, the Arabic daily, and I worked with them there. So that's how I know them, and I know how it started. Since Mada, I've been freelancing with them in different ways. And then in 2018, I joined the team as the multimedia series editor. So I mainly, until 2020. So I was mainly responsible for developing the series. Some of them already existed, and developing new ones.
All right. So what made Mada Masr start this whole Beyond the Series Factories that we're going to be showcasing? Just for the people who are listening to us, we're going to be showcasing Beyond the Series Factories, part of this Makers in the Sun program. So tell us, why did Mada Masr start this series, and when did they start it?
Okay. So Beyond the Factory is a video series that was started in late 2017 by my colleague, journalist, writer, editor, also Navone Associate, and she's the one who actually founded the video unit at Mada Masr back in 2017. And the platform was thinking at the time, okay, so why video? What relation would the video content have to other types of content on the platform, whether they're written or more creative or cartoon, etc. And Mada, as a platform in general, tries to explore or shed light more on stories that are a bit in the margin, more individual efforts that don't have a lot of support. So they were thinking in that direction at the time. And at the same time, one of the video journalists pitched the first story for Beyond the Factory. It was not a series yet at the time. And actually, he's Mustafa Darwish. He's the video journalist. He's now based in Ireland, and he actually produced 7 of the 13 films that you selected from the series for this showcase. So the first one is about a masbagha, a dye house in Al-Azhar. And at the time they talked, okay, what kind of angle it would have, what would they focus on, what kind of visual language, etc. And they developed it. So this was how it started, and it gradually evolved, partly actually by the visual style of Mustafa, because he produced several of these videos in the beginning. So gradually developed it further in focus and in style. I joined mainly in 2018.
Yeah.
I continued with some of the same direction, but I also tried to develop it in slightly different directions as well.
So you said it started first, it wasn't a series, and then you went ahead and then it evolved into being a series. But how did Mada Masr manage to find these hidden craftsmen in Egypt?
I think it's a range of, like, okay, sometimes it's the videographers who actually pitch. We don't have an in-house
Yeah.
team. We have a relationship with a range of video journalists and videographers and artists. So in many cases, they pitch. They're interested. The series has been very attractive to journalists in general. They
Yeah.
like to experiment with it. So actually, we get a lot of pitches for it. So in many cases, they actually find something, they pitch it. In other cases, we either want to feature a certain profession or or a specific place that we find something interesting about, and we pitch it to the videographers. So it's a combination of both.
So all these, the craftsmen that you have found or the pitches that came through are all based in Cairo, like the craftsmen's artisans, wala in different parts in Egypt?
No, there are many who are also outside of Cairo. Some are in Alexandria, some are in different governorates in the Delta, some are in Upper Egypt. It doesn't have a Cairo focus. It doesn't also claim to be comprehensive or representative of all the crafts or all the locations around Egypt, but it has a range of workshops and crafts and artisans whose work we think is quite interesting and important to feature.
Did you, after like shooting and editing one of the series, did you like the filmmaker, did they show their film or the series to the artisan that they worked with, that they documented their work?
Yeah, we publish all our videos on our YouTube channel and Facebook and other social media platforms, so they're accessible to all. And in some cases, we find that some of the artisans actually make a comment. And other cases, I know that several of them have watched them and provided feedback to the videographers. And I know that one particular filmmaker actually went back and like tried to screen it because it was like a family-run workshop. And she showed it to them. She has a very long-term relationship with them since she was way younger. It's in Fayoum. So she showed it to them, yes.
That's great to know that they have been part of this whole process. Do you think that these films will help revive the dying crafts in our community, and in what way?
I cannot really claim that they will revive the local crafts, because as you know, like actually in a component of the videos actually usually tackles what kind of challenges these artisans face, whether directly or indirectly. And some of them are quite, infrastructural and systematic. So, and need different kinds of interventions. But but what it's trying to do is feature them, also also spotlight the human element. Okay, who is this? Okay, so this specific workshop, who are the people behind it? How do they work? So there's that human element. Why did they get into this? How do they work now? What kind of process do they follow? And some of the challenges they face. So it could like provide some awareness, but hopefully also provide some interest, in these crafts. And again, like maybe on social media, we get a lot of comments like, okay, so where specifically is this workshop? Like, where's the address? How can we find them? And sometimes this is provided, but I cannot claim that this will revive it, but it tries to shed some light and show some appreciation. But also in the end, it's trying to be something between a report and a mini film. Some of them are not really they're still developing them into like the style of a film, but it's like a mini report, but it also tries to show like the human element and human interest stories. So there's that component as well.
Have you ever found like people approaching you to know where these craftsmen are, their location, so they can go and actually work with them? Did you ever get such responses?
We get this kind of responses on social media, yes, like on the comments on the videos, people asking specifically, okay, where are these specific, like where's the specific tile maker, where is the specific workshop, how can we find them? So yes, how far that actually goes, I don't know. Also, not all of there are so many others that were also interesting, but not everyone welcomes the spotlight or or wants to be featured in that way for different reasons. So sometimes we approach other workshops and craftsmen, and some of them are not always comfortable being featured. So
Yeah.
it depends on a case by case basis and what also these specific people want.
Challenge that these while you're shooting or you're approaching these craftsmen, artisans, that while you were shooting they're like not comfortable خلاص يعني please not proceed with this documentary or this reportage. Have you ever faced something like this? Because every artisan has their own mentality and mindset, but there will be some of them, they're like, oh, okay, I want the propaganda, I want to people to know more about me if it's on social media, la la la. But but have you faced some challenges while documenting these film or series?
Usually this happens before the actual shoot. Like we try to gauge that because we don't just, the journalists don't just, the video journalists don't just show up at their door and start shooting. So they do some scouting, they visit them before, they talk to them, they hear some of their stories to see, okay, what they want to focus on. They try to make them a bit comfortable. And sometimes they realize, and we realize midway that, okay, no, they don't want to proceed, but this happens before. During the shoots, it's, it's mostly sometimes, okay, so they tell a story and then they find, okay, maybe they're not very comfortable with it. So they would ask, okay, please don't include that part, or because it might get them, they have their reasons, which we respect, but we haven't faced so far when in the middle of the shoot when someone would ask us to cancel.
No, that's
we try to, it usually happens before that, during the scouting and testing phase.
So there are interests in some studios in Egypt, or not necessarily just in Egypt, around, such as Cairo-Politan. So there's a lot of studios that are interested to work one-on-one with the artisans and craftsmen in our community, not just necessarily in Egypt, a lot of in the Arab world, in the MENA region. What do you think of the contemporary application of these crafts?
I think it's great that it's happening, and as long as there are like meaningful collaborations and partnerships that could evolve between the design studios and the artisans. And I think there's a lot of room for that because these craftsmen and artisans already have some kind of they know a lot, they know about design, they've been practicing it even if they haven't studied it in a more conventional or had a formal training and education in it, but they do actually apply it a lot, and they experiment with different techniques and features in their products. And there's actually one video in the series, but it's not included in this showcase, where the whole story was about this family that works with pottery, and the story is about them trying a new technique. That's the video is just about that. So they're trying out something new in their technique, and we follow it from when they start it till the results come out in the end. So this is also design, and I think there's a lot of room for that, and it's good that it's happening.
Well, I think also there's like nowadays in Egypt, people are trying to revive the lost crafts. Okay, they try to go to the artisan, they try to understand the artisan, the craftsman way of thinking and their techniques, and they try to develop their design into what's available in the market right now. But sometimes it's very challenging because the artisan itself are like either they don't want to proceed ahead because this kind of technique will not work with me, because sometimes they just are stuck with what they have. They don't want to update themselves. That's the problem as a designer, because I'm a designer myself too. So if I'm going to produce a product, let's say a table, but I want some edgy designer, something like this, I'm going to face challenges a lot of the time, because communicating with an artisan, it takes a lot of time back and forth in order for them to understand what I need. But I think in Egypt right now, it's getting better. A lot of people are there to to understand the artisans' background, techniques, the availability of materials that we have, and all of that. So I think that what Mada Masr is doing and highlighting and spotlighting all these craftsmen in Egypt, it's great to know what we have, to know where are they located, to like I asked you before, can we reach out to these people? Can we collaborate with them? Can we work with them? I think that's great that you're doing something like that. So right now, are you still in the process of documenting more series or longer documentaries, for example, or do you have, or you're stopping at some time in your timeline?
The last video we produced in the series was a little over a year ago, and it was pre-corona,
yeah,
COVID-19, and we weren't going to proceed with this series. We were trying to push it in slightly different directions, film-wise, in terms of what we want to focus on and how we want to present the stories. So I'm currently now working on a freelance basis with Mada, and it's left up to their discretion on a case-by-case basis, if they want to proceed, if there are interesting stories, if there are interesting angles, if there's something new that could be added through this presentation in this particular medium of video or film, then they would go ahead. But it's not like ongoing in the sense that it was before.
Okay. But I think it should, because right now in our collaboration with Mada Masr, that we combined all these short series together in one long documentary to show it to the people. I think if we have similar, if Mada Masr is thinking to work on different series or a long documentary, it would be very interesting, not just for the people in Egypt, also outside Egypt, in a MENA region, international audience. So why is it important to document these crafts and practices, in your opinion? Do you think it's going to make an impact in our community or in the design world in general, the creative market in general, or what?
I hope, I hope it would have some impact. Like, as I said, we were also interested from the beginning in the idea of labor and what it means and how people produce things physically and people who are not in the spotlight. And it's a bit broader than craft. So you would find in the series, but they're not also, because the series, we're including in this showcase 13 videos from the series, but there are others as well. Yeah. That are available on Mada's YouTube channel. So there are other things that have slightly different understanding of what it is. There's one about a fassikh maker, who's also a very labor, it's a labor intensive process, and it also has a very particular approach, and it's like a family run business, but it's interesting and it's there. So but it's not, in the conventional sense of artisanship, or something. So there's that. There are other examples that try to look at the conditions of working in a workshop and how you present these people who are working there. So there's one particular filmmaker who actually focuses more rather than on the process, but also on how, through the shots and the angles, and how to present these people, different generations, how they're featured on screen, what does that add to them and to their position while they're speaking, their position of authority, or their position of tries to emphasize what they're saying. So there are different approaches, and it varies from one filmmaker to the other. Of the process and trying to present some understanding of how it's done, but of course, if somebody's going to, they have to go and learn more. This is like a drop in the ocean. They do a lot of things very thorough, and their process is in many cases quite complex. So there's that, but there's also okay, the connection is not stable.
Yeah, it's a little bit on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. It was on and off a little bit.
Okay. So there are different, goals and aspirations for this series. One of it is documenting the crafts. One of it is, okay, experimenting with narration, and this happened in like later videos in the series. One of it is looking, okay, at the context of where they're operating, at the physical space where they're operating and its details, and what does it tell about them, and what does it tell about their family history, if it's a family run place, because there are a lot of specific details that also shows the layers of history and how this specific workshop was run by one person after another in the same family. So there are all these details and approaches that could come out subtly through the video. And these are all interesting to us as well, how much of an impact? We hope it has an impact. Like the series has been popular. We usually get a lot of people are interested in it, like a general viewership online. They're interested in it. A lot of people are fascinated by the processes, and they're like always have very encouraging comments to the craftsmen, like, keep going, don't let it die. This is beautiful. This is amazing. But obviously, as I said, there are a lot of bigger infrastructural problems, that these workers are facing. And I guess it's just one effort, and different people if people are interested in collaborating with them, that would be great. If they want to develop different things, that also be great. We're just presenting it and leaving it open for people can take it from there and see how they want to go forward with it.
I think that's great, but I just wanted to ask, Yani, I know from my point of view, I think it is creating an impact in our community, but don't you think, Yani, you should have more information of these artisan in under every video in social media, so people will actually just go ahead and speak with them and approach them. Like, for example, their location, their number, the name of the person that the artisan itself, and so forth. Because I think I'm not sure if these kind of information already existing in the platform.
Information that's available in every video is, of course, the name of the artist and like the neighborhood where the workshop is. But like the very personal information, like phone numbers and exact addresses, we don't include that. If this is something that's useful, we would, of course, first have to go back to the actual artisans and ask for their permission, because and see what kind of information they're willing to share publicly like this, and if this is considered an advert. I don't know how this works even with YouTube. Is this like an ad, or is this fine? It's a bit tricky. But of course, like, it's meant to be like a database that is accessible for people to approach them. That would be useful for the artisan community and for designers, etc. That sounds amazing, but just maybe logistically it needs to be. We need to think of how that can be done in a way that works for everyone.
Yeah, of course. I think it's something maybe to consider if you're going to produce more films with Mada Masr. So we've noticed that the majority of the subjects are men. Are these crafts dominated by men, male in the market, do you think?
Some, not all. Like one of them is about, for example, the small factory in Akhmim where they make fabric. This is all women, but part of it could be that it's dominated somehow. I can't make that claim fully, but some of them are. And also another part of it is related to who is comfortable being
in front of the camera,
being approached, being filmed in front of the camera. But we have two examples in the showcase of the clock fixer.
Yeah,
she's a woman, and she talks actually specifically about how that was a challenge to her in the beginning, because it's not a profession that usually women work in, and that there was a lack of trust. Like, could she do it? Actually, she says that one of the comments she got, she says it on camera, that like one of the people who was coming to fix they're like, oh, I never thought I'd find a woman who was so meticulous and can get the job done that well, And she was like, it has been like something that I trying to always prove and like I'm worthy of it, I can do it, and I focus on it. So there's the clock worker and there's also the Akhmim women. Of course, there are other professions that where women work with, maybe in other series and other videos on the channel, not necessarily here where they're
The
featured,
ones,
but
yeah.
yeah, it's commonly it's men who are either working there or who feel it's okay for them to go on camera and talk about it, etc., and be filmed.
So were there other crafts that you wanted to showcase but you couldn't because some kind of challenges that you faced? For example, the pre-production, the process itself, the research. Maybe when you decided that you want to shoot, document one of the crafts, but then you came across some kind of challenge. Did this something happened to you?
Yeah. So one of the challenges that we sometimes face, like, okay, so we have this idea, we want to find someone who works with a particular craft, and then we keep searching and searching and searching, and we find that not that many people are working in it anymore, mostly due to cheaper imports. So this craft either kind of died, or it's not really done in fully the process anymore. They just assemble things, also because of the imports, the flood of the market with cheaper imports. So there were crafts that we couldn't find. And sometimes also what we've been trying to do in the series, in later stages in the series, was to also find a craft, but also find an entry point, a story that we can, through the story we can learn about the craft and the people and the story. We've been trying to make a detour where it documents it, but it also, there's another story happening, and this sometimes is more challenging.
Of course. So you've mentioned before that all you get pitches from the filmmakers, videographers of these kind of stories. All the series or all the episodes are like that, or you also do your own research and then you pick and choose the director to document these series, this particular episode? Or
it's a combination, like a mix. Some are like this and some are like that. Sometimes we have an idea and we pitch it to particular directors or see who's interested and like to develop it further together, etc. And sometimes they're direct pitches. We get a lot of pitches, actually. Some of them actually get the same pitches, different people about either a particular place or a particular craft.
I think all the series are well documented, well produced. The process, it's very clear. The content is very clear. It's very clear to the audience, and I think it's great because it's very helpful for any designer, for any creative who wants to understand the process of how this particular product or art has been made. It's well crafted in the film itself. So do you have any other projects that you're working on, like as a freelancer or with Mada Masr, or in general, something relates to design and arts in Egypt?
I don't know. I think the connection.
Okay. Do you want me to repeat
your question? Okay. Last part of the question.
So I was asking, aside from Mada Masr, beyond the factory series, are you working currently with any other projects that also revolve around design, arts, creative in general in Egypt, or even internationally?
Yes, but they're still at quite very initial stage that I can't really. They're still being developed in a very early stage, so I can't really present them at this point.
No, it's okay. I completely understand.
We're trying to develop like a series related to contemporary arts with Mada, and contemporary arts in a broader sense that could also include components of design and but we're still thinking about how it will be done. And there are other things, but they're also still at a very early stage. And there's a lot of other content, but that's not necessarily very clear design oriented.
Can you tell us? I know that you're working right now with the Madrid TV, right? As a, I think.
No, I'm not working with any. I was one of the co-founders, and I left in 2017, right before joining Mada, actually. There was this. Sometimes we also documented design projects before.
Is it
before as Madrid TV for the Cairo Now exhibition, because we were the ones.
Oh yes. Okay. So you were the ones who documented the Cairo Now exhibition that happened Dubai Design Week in 2016.
Dubai Design Week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's actually a very great.
That has to do with Mada.
Yeah, no, but it's actually a very great documentary, short film documentary. It's available online for whoever wants to watch it. I think we came to an end.
Yeah, I was going to say, in relation to Cairo Now, also Mada at the time produced a publication that ran in parallel to the exhibition with specific articles about the design scene and directly related to the exhibition. I don't know if you've seen it or not. It's not online. It was a print, actually.
I think I've seen it because we've attended the 2016 Dubai Design Week, so we came across all the lovely exhibition and the artists and creatives in the field itself. So the session came to an end, and I'd really like to thank you for having this lovely conversation about Beyond the Factory, Mada Masr, and your previous work experience. If you have anything else you'd like to say to the audience who are listening to us, please let us know. Go ahead if you want to say something.
Thanks very much for having me, and I hope they enjoy the series. And if they have any comments or feedback, they can always email us or send us on our social media. It would be lovely to get feedback from a very different audience.
Yes,
in this case. So we're excited, really excited about that.